Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Let me know if you can hear me in the chat. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Welcome, welcome, welcome to the podcast to Profit Masterclass. Super excited to have you guys here with me today. And as we have everyone coming and pouring in, first of all, I want to congratulate the folks that were here early. That is not my ministry. And so the fact that you guys are here early speaks a lot, speaks volumes. So welcome in, welcome in. As you know, we're going to be talking about how to turn your podcast conversations into profitable conversations, converting conversations. That's really what you're here to learn, and that's really what I'm here to deliver. But I want you to, for a minute, go with me and imagine a door, right? Imagine the door. We're imagining a door and a knob. And now you are turning that knob and walking into that room. And in that room is the thing above everything else that you are here to get. And I want in the chat right now, I want you to tell everybody that's here what you came to get. What is the one word or one phrase that you came into this masterclass to get today? What are you here to get? I'm going to be looking at the chat, so let me know what you're here to get. Share with everybody else so we can start the thing off with everyone being on one accord. Love it, clarity. Direction, that's a good one. Leverage, okay, that's a good word. It's a great word. Ideation, okay, Sarah. Actionable steps, heavy on the action, okay? Heavy on the action. All right, we're gonna do a couple more. Come on, guys. We're in here. This is energy. As you can see, I'm hopped up on coffee. We're gonna we're gonna have a good time today. Y'all ain't gonna leave me here by myself. Yes, let's do this. Let's go. Oh, just the repurpose content. Yes, 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 yes. Okay. Listen, I'm gonna be honest with you. As you can see, everyone is here for something different. Every room has something different in it. And that is the power of meetings like this, coming together. And it's not just another masterclass. And I want to start off by setting the intention about that, right? You are here for something that's specific to you. Because maybe in your life right now, you're chugging away in your business and you might not be seeing the kind of results that you want, right? You might be posting all the time, you're doing all the things that you're supposed to do, and you're just not seeing the results. Frankly, your expertise might not be matching your bank account right now. If that's you, say, drop a yes in the chat where you feel like you know your stuff. And for whatever reason, your bank account is playing with you right now. It's not matching right now. Yes, yes. Okay. Child. Exactly. Right. And so, can I be honest with you? If I could be honest with you right now, drop honest in the chat. Honest in the chat. Okay. A lot of people will say that they want transformation and that they want change. Frankly, a lot of people will sign up for free master classes like these. And they come here, they get all the game, they get all excited, they get jazzed up, ready, I'm gonna do this, and then nothing. Nothing. Close the notebook, that was fun, I'm gonna leave, I'm gonna do something else, right? Or I'm gonna go back to exactly what I was doing, right? How many of you are here right now? How many of you are here right now? There's 33 people currently on this Zoom. Over 150 people registered for this free masterclass. I want to emphasize free. And less than half of those people are here right now. You are in the what? 30%, 40% of the people who decided, hey, I signed up for this thing and I'm going to be here. But let me drop another number for you. Only a few, I mean, a tiny few of y'all actually took the VIP offer. And here is where I think it's funny, right? Because you're coming to a masterclass. And I literally told you in the copy and in the messages, hey, if you want to ask a question, the only way you're going to be able to do that live is to be in VIP. So if you're serious about your growth, if you're serious about transformation, how is it that only that small amount of people actually signed up to ask a question? Were you planning on coming here and sitting and just receiving the information? What then? What action? And so let me be honest with you. Let me be really honest with you. It is going to be very, very easy to come here, listen to me, get jazzed up, get excited, and go and do nothing. A lot of people will do that. What I am wanting now is a promise from you. And let me be honest, I know it ain't gonna be all y'all. Probably 10 to 15% of you right now will actually take action. I know that sounds like I'm separating the sea, but I am. Because frankly, this is only for those people. Yes, I'm gonna talk to everybody and everybody will get the same message, but I'm speaking directly to the 10 and 15% of y'all that's actually going to take action. So if that's you right now, if you know you're gonna take action, that you're not just gonna take this information and then, oh, this was great, this was nice, thank you, Carrolee, and move on. If you know that you're gonna take action, I want to see you put action in the chat, not just because you wanna put it in the chat, but because you're ready to take action on the information. Yes, 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 I see it, I see it. That is not a promise to me, because most of y'all don't even know me, right? We haven't even really gotten started yet. This is a promise to yourself that you're not going to leave this place. Just because you got in for free does not mean that this information, this experience is common, because I'm not common. And the information that you're about to get is not common. So I want you to understand that you're in a transformative space. Get your mind in that space. You ready to go? If you're ready to go, say ready. Amazing, amazing. Let's go. Okay, so we talked about the root. And I told y'all that showing up is not enough. You can pat yourself on the back that you're opening your laptop and started Zoom. 2025, we've already seen, especially as most of us are women, and most of us in this room right now are people of color. Not only do we feel the regular pressure, but we know and understand there is an intentional work that is happening to block our voices. And so we're gonna work 10 times as hard to make sure that our voices are heard. And so letting things just kind of come and go, that's 2024. We don't have time for that in 2025, right? Okay, so I've been talking and I want to introduce myself. You guys can read what's on the screen, but I do want to tell you, for me, this is personal, right? I'm not just here to talk about podcasting. I'm here to talk about real substantive change. There is a reason why we only work with experts in the Podcast Pitching Society. We work predominantly, right now, all of our clients are women, right? And people of color. The reason why we work with these people specifically is because you're seeing it on social media. You're seeing it in the kind of traditional spaces where these voices are being pushed down, pushed back. And I see it as our mission as a company to start pushing back on that narrative, to elevate the voices of the people that know their stuff. They've just been looking for some level of visibility, right? So that's what we're going to talk about today, is how whatever it is that you're doing, the fire that you have, that you already have. The fire is your expertise. We're going to pour some gasoline on it, right? And so again, if you're ready to actually take action and be a part of this, we're going to drop the VIP link again in the chat. You need to be on there, because if you are going into a job interview, one of my least favorite things to have done in my career was be a employer and have someone come in for an interview. And we're going, and then I ask, do you have any questions? Y'all know what I'm about to say, right? You're in the job interview, and you're like, do you have any questions? And they're like, no. Immediately, you're in the back of the line, because I understand you're not serious, right? And so for the folks that are serious, the folks that are here because they want more than just a passive experience, that's what I want y'all to do. We're going to have some hot seats where I'm actually going to be talking directly to you. So if you have specific questions that you want answered, that is the opportunity to get that done. If you got me in the chat, say I got you. Okay. All right. All right, congratulations. Well, that's Sarah that got through. Got it. Okay. So to start off, we're going to talk about some myths. Because there's a lot of bad information that's being sent out. And frankly, because people are just now warming up to the idea of podcasts as a marketing channel and not just like a nice to have, there's a lot of myths that's rolling around. The first one is that you need a huge following to get booked on quality podcasts. Let me just tell you, the biggest thing that I see that's a block for people when they're trying to get onto some good podcasts is the stories that they're telling, is the positioning of what they have done. They, for the most part, don't care about your following. Maybe for some super small podcasts that are trying to like raise their own, whatever, but for a reputable podcast, especially if it's in a niche, they want to know that one, you know your stuff, so you're an expert, and that two, you actually have a story to tell. You have a perspective, something that is not run of the mill, right? Who here has something that they know, listen, it's fire. It's nothing like what's in my industry. You have something that is interesting enough as a story to tell. If you are that person, drop a me in the chat. All day. It's basically a job interview. I know I just mentioned the job interview piece, but please, for the love of God, do not go into a podcast interview, and I'll tell you why it's not really an interview in a minute, and treat it like that. There is no power dynamic. You are the expert. They need you, frankly. And to be honest, that's how I used to go into all of my job interviews. It's like, you're on trial. I know that I'm the one that you need, right? Podcast appearances don't have big impact. It's a warm up for traditional media. Now, I have my girl in here that does traditional media, love traditional media. It's actually great for visibility. What I will tell you, if you are an expert and you're trying to meet your ideal clients where they already are, podcasts on scale is crazy for money. When I say money, I mean real money, not influence. That's the difference. If you're talking about money in the pocket, podcasts on scale, nothing beats it. Nothing beats it. I'm gonna show you why. So here are the truths, right? And what people tend to not realize. Podcast guesting is a relationship building tool. It is a way, if done strategically, to meet the people that you really need to meet, want to meet, that have what you need, whether they're clients or referral partners or people that are connected to entities that you want to speak at, etc. Like, treat it as such, right? That is the truth. The right shows can be more impactful than large audiences. I cannot tell you how many times I've been in rooms talking about podcasting, and one of the things that I hear all the time is like, well, don't you need to get on these bigger podcasts or these platforms or whatever the case is? I'm like, no, you don't. I'm talking about revenue, ROI. I'm not just talking about being popular, right? When we're talking about authority, I'm not just talking about being popular. Being known and being known as a fool is not the same thing, right? So when we're talking about popularity, that doesn't always equal money. There are plenty of people with millions of followers, and if they launch something tomorrow, they're not going to make the same money that someone with a much smaller audience, but they're much more engaged right? They'll make that money. And that's the difference here. So that's why we really focus in on niche podcasts for that very reason. Finding the right podcast is time consuming and is a skill. So many people talk about podcasts as if it's like a run of the mill situation. Now, are there literally hundreds of thousands of podcasts, probably well over 1 million at this point? Yes, tons. Because people start podcasts and then after season 1, they ghost. They're no longer, but that's still a number, right? Where people start podcasts and they're right, so many, right? However, when we're talking about right fit, that's hard to find. And that takes research and that takes time. Like, it is a full-time job. How do I know? It's my full-time job, right? And it is a skill, something that you have to develop over time. Somebody say over time. All right. So the first thing that we're going to go over in our process, come on with the numbers. 3.8 million podcasts. That's a lot. That's a lot. And it's deceivingly so, right? Because you're thinking like, dang, that's a huge audience. A bunch of that are people who's like dipped their toe in a podcast that was like, oh, this is cute. This is a lot of work. I'm not doing this. And they're out, right? You're wanting to make sure that you dig, and find the right. And it takes a lot of time. So we're going to actually go over the first two of our three-part framework, the pitch and the pair, in super deep detail right now. And so hopefully your notebooks are out. I will say for the folks that have VIP, after I teach on this, we're going to have a hot seat session and you'll be able to ask your questions. So if you have VIP, make sure that you change your name on Zoom so I can see VIP, and then you can raise your hand whenever you want to go off mute, and my team will unmute you and we'll go from there. Sound good? All right, look at Michael on it. If you want to sign up for the VIP, the link's right there. All right, so let's go into pitch. All right, so the first thing that you want to make sure is that you're hooking the reader from the start. One of my favorite copywriting strategies or tip that I ever got as a writer is the steps, right? So I'm going to ask you, what is the purpose of the first line of any copy that you are writing for sales? What is the point? What is the goal of that first line? Hook them, grab attention. All right. Put simply, the first line of any copy that you're writing is to get your reader to read the second line. Because he's like, oh, of course. Yeah, that's literally what it is. And the goal of the second line is to get them to read the third line. Because at the end of the day, if somebody is not interested as they're reading, what's going to happen, especially nowadays? They're gone, right? And that's something that I learned as a copywriter. I look like I'm 12, but I'm not. It's been a minute. And one of the things that I love about writing and storytelling is that you can captivate people, right, from that first piece. And so when you're writing a pitch, typically people are starting, my name is Carrolee Drummond and I have all this experience and I've done all the things and ma'am, who cares, right? I don't care yet. You haven't gotten me yet. So what you need to do is start off with a stat, something staggering, right? Something that's obviously tied to, the industry that you're in, something that is gonna be like, oh, okay. Or start off with a quote that does the same thing, right? Because now the point of the first line is to what? Get them to that second line. And that story or that stat or whatever is gonna get them to that second line. Hook the reader from the start. Incorporate specifics. This is one of the things I think is so funny because we work with experts and y'all know a lot. Y'all geek out, nerd out, all the things. But what happens often is you talk as if everybody knows what you're talking about. And I'm like, pretend I'm in the fifth grade and I have no idea what any of that means, right? How would you actually describe it to me? How would you break it down and get as specific as possible, right? It is not the time to start being, if you're a nuclear physicist, there's a specific story that's in there that really you don't have to use all the big words. You can talk about the impact of the work and then tie it to what you have done, the specific positions that you've held, right? Talk like a third grader. That's correct, Lenitra, right? And that ties into the third one, keeping it simple. Get in, get out. Nobody's reading that book. You write 4 or 5 paragraphs in your pitch, guaranteed, unless you have an attachment that simplifies all of that information, I'm not reading it. And this is not a guess, right? I'm a podcast host myself. I get pitched all the time. I look at them pitches. And when I say I look at them, I look at them. I don't even read them. I skim, I'm like, I'm good, right? If you are not writing your pitch in a way that is actually thinking about the person who's receiving it, you're already shooting yourself in the foot, right? Making it easy for them. Does all the information that they would need to make a decision, is it there? Is it clear? Is it bulleted? So I, again, can get in, get out. Is stuff bolded that I need you to pay attention to? Are there links where I can then go and find your socials, to look at your website, to look at are you making it easy for me to make a decision? That's one of the best compliments we get as a company when we're pitching our clients. It's like, you literally, you made it super easy for us. We've gotten that comment multiple times, right? And so you want to make sure that in all of this, you're telling a compelling story, you're hooking them, you're getting them in, right? You're being specific, you're tying things in. And one of the things that I did not put here, but it's super important, this is not about you. Keeping that in mind, this is not about you. Your pitch is not about you. And it's really hard to write a pitch, you're pitching yourself, and not make it self-centered. The point of this whole pitch is to show a podcast host or a podcast producer what having you on their podcast would actually do for their audience. So even as you're pitching yourself, you're letting them know, hey, I'm going to talk about this thing, and I have this framework that does this thing, and your audience will actually get this, right? This is the goal. This is the impact. That's what's important, right? Are we good? If we're good, say we're good in the comments. I want to make sure that we're good. And if you have a question and you don't have VIP, this is the last call because we're about to go into hot seats. All right, okay, all right. So let's go. We're 40 deep right now. I want engagement. So that's where we're heading to right now, into hot seats. So if you're ready to go and you have VIP, you can raise your hand, I think, and I'll be able to see you on Zoom. I think there's a literal raise your hand feature in Zoom. If it's not there, then just put up next in the chat and then I'll let you go. Okay, there we go. Someone found it. All right. So let's go first to thank you, Judy, being so helpful. Okay, let's go to Dr. Judy. You can come off mute. Michael, can you help her to come off mute? She's not. Okay.
Am I off mute yet?
You are. I can hear you loud and clear.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Carrolee. This is so good already. So I have a question. So I work with medical professionals to really help them with managing their stress so that they can elevate their performance, right? And they work in high stress environments, right? So what I find is that it's not always that easy finding the right podcast to be a guest on. I, like you, have my own podcast as well. So finding the right podcast to be a guest on. But the other part is, when it's all said and done, you're on a podcast because I've been on some. Some of them are not medical at all. That's fine. I talk about what I talk about, and you post it, and then that's it. So how's the best way to leverage it? Because I think that's where it's missing for me to the different ways to um leverage that to get in front of the faces that I need to get in front of. Because I also am a speaker and I do keynotes and I do workshops. So how best to leverage that?
Okay, so the first question that you asked about like where to go to find
Hmm.
medical professionals and people that might be experiencing burnout. First and foremost, you have to go where they're already at, right? And so thinking about I think the good part is you were once that person. You were once a medical professional experiencing burnout. Where would you have gone, right? Researching those podcasts that are specific about burnout, right? Maybe not just for medical professionals, but specific to burnout. And you can also go into the space that is about wellness, right? Finding adjacent categories, if you will actually help you to meet those people where they're already at. And it might not be so specific just in like a medical context. In fact, we have a client who um, she does internal communications for companies, right? She's been in the legal field within that space for forever. But we decided, okay, you want to branch out, let's actually put you in places where leadership, people who are talking about leadership, talking about internal communications, that are not attorneys, right? Where are those people at? And so we went and did that research. So one of the things I would suggest for you is doing a bit more research about where these people are going, what kind of podcasts they're listening to, because it might surprise you, right? It might have nothing to do with medical, and those are probably the best ones to go on because then you're adding the cachet of being a medical doctor on top of, hey, I've been here before. You can tell those stories, and the people that are listening will attract to you. And I also know you, so I know that you're also trying to widen that net a little bit more. And so it's probably best for you to, when you're looking, not be super niche. Of course, our whole thing is niche, right? But not to the point where you're not opening yourself enough for opportunities that are there and kind of waiting for you, honestly.
Hmm.
The second piece about leveraging, we are going to get to for sure.
Okay.
One of the things that I always say is create once, right? And distribute that into eternity, right? And the one thing that I love about a podcast, it's evergreen, which means that even though you did the podcast a year ago, you can repurpose that now and it feel like new content. So it's not like okay, I did that. I can't rejuvenate that into an email. I can't rejuvenate that into a blog post. I can't rejuvenate that into something else outside of that, putting that on LinkedIn, an article. You can use that same content and reuse that every 6 months, right? And do that. So it's there. Exactly. And people don't know the difference. That's why it's amazing. Because if you're talking about something that is valuable and that is relatively general, right? Because even if people were talking about recession in '08, we're kind of sort of heading to a recession right now, right? So even if you're talking about that, at that point, it's still relevant. So
Mhm.
think about that piece is whatever you've already done, you can actually repurpose that now in the same places that you did before, because it's been a minute. So those are the things that I would
Oh,
do.
I like that because you do tend to feel like, whoa, that was 3 years ago. Why would I pull that up now? But the fact, yeah, you're right. It is evergreen, and so you can pull it up at any time, and it still be relevant. Okay,
Awesome.
thank
Thank
you.
you. All right, Sarah.
Yeah, so you answered a portion of my questions with Dr. Judy, but really, like one of the things to me that I find is one of the more complicated motions is how do I make what I'm talking about sexy, and how do I make it something that people are going to want to hear? Because living in finance land, like I can get really excited about the topic, and I think that gets people around me excited, but the reality is like unless you're in this very niche space, you don't know what I'm talking about, right? So I know that we say talk, talk like a fifth grader, talk like a third grader, get it into that really basic thing. But at the end of the day, like finance is still never going to be sexy from an operations perspective. So like what would your tips be around like how do you get to that point and of making a topic that may be specifically niche? And you answered one of my questions on leveraging adjacent podcasts and these things, but like what would your like kind of primary tip be to getting to a point of where that's kind of sexy?
I would say the first thing is find common language, right? Everybody cares about money. That's a common language, right? That's always going to be a common language. We're always going to care about money. It's a way that you talk about it. If you're talking about the bottom line, which every business owner cares about, the way that you do that is tying it to sales, tying it to other things that, again, no matter who you are in a business context, your ears are going to perk up because you're like, okay, wait, I I need this, right? And that's what happens a lot of times. We start talking in our own silo language instead of saying, hey, is your business leaking cash? Are you leaving your customers confused because they don't know what they actually owe? Because sales and your AR, accounts receivable, they're not talking, right? They don't have the same language. I'm going to come in here and help you to actually detangle that, right? Let's tell a different financial story. There are ways for you, without even getting into the minutia of things, to talk and use common language. That's what I mean, right? Using language that people are already using and understanding that they already have. You don't have to recreate the wheel, and you certainly don't have to like speak over people, right? Your solution, think about all of the most popular speakers, people who are solving problems for people. What do they all have in common? The one thing they all have in common is how simple their message is. Is the implementing simple? No. But the message, you get it immediately. And that is the part that I think we all have to work on for messaging. And that's actually one of the things that I think we're really great at in our company, helping experts. Hey, all that information, that's really great. Let's put it down here where everybody can receive it and get excited about it, right? Because we're using shared language. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I like the shared language because that shared language can kind of lean into many areas, right? Like it doesn't have to just be my niche. It's a shared thing that we all understand. And I think that's the hardest part for me to kind of conceptualize and get to this space because I've been so locked into this one little silo for 20 years. And so kind of getting out of that and saying, hey, I can share this and this message through this language without having to get into this really like technical I'm a robot and I want you to hear me kind of situation. But no, thank you, Carrolee, I appreciate it.
Exactly. And it's not like human connection. It is literally human, and we all hate bills. That is, that is a fact. Okay, so let's get into a pair really quick. And I'm sorry, Bala, Bayla, we're gonna have to get back to you. We'll be able to answer some more questions a little bit later. So let's get into a pair. I wanna make sure that we have enough time here. So the entire purpose of this, as you're going into your interview, is to be prepared. I'm going to use the same like concept of going for a job interview, even though we've already said the only thing that this has in common is how much intention you have to bring into it. You're obviously not going to treat the conversation like a job interview, but you do your research. A good candidate for a job is going to go into the situation researching everything. So in this situation, you're researching the host. You're commenting on their stuff online. Well, you're following them online. You're commenting on stuff online. You're following the actual podcast. You're seeing the stuff in real time. So even before you go and you pitch, there is okay, cool. And I'm talking about for like medium podcasts, the podcast that could possibly be like life-changing, not the smaller one that, you'd be probably a gift for. I'm talking about how do you get on the podcasts that are a bit more harder to reach. You have to do your research. Come in it with some intention. If you don't remember any other word this entire training, remember intention. The people with intention, the people that come into the situation understanding, hey, I'm gonna have to give a good amount so that I can get a good amount, right? So you're doing your research on the show. Who do they have as guests? The last like 6 months, what does that look like? Is there anyone that has a similar background as you? How can you position now your pitch that we just talked about in a way that makes it clear that you're different, makes it clear that the conversation would be different, the takeaway for their audience would be different? That's the level of research that you need to be doing. That's the level of research that we do for our clients, right? It is a lot of work, I'm not gonna lie to you. But it makes it so that when you pitch, you almost already know they're gonna say yes, because you've done the work, right? Preparing for the interview. Now you got the interview, great. Preparing for that means, one, getting on their calendar before. Most good podcast hosts will tell you, hey, let's meet for 30 minutes to go over anything that we need to go over before the actual interview. But even if they don't, again, like I said in the beginning, there's a lot of people just letting life, happen. So if the podcast host doesn't like do anything and just puts it on your calendar, then you just show up. You don't ask, hey, can we just take some time out for me to know, all of the ways in which this actual conversation is going to go? What are some of the questions that you're thinking of asking me? Like getting really clear and getting an idea of how things work, because you've already done the research. You've heard how they typically ask questions. You've heard how they typically intro you, right? You can start to now build out your plan, your game plan for the actual interview itself, right? And so there are ways for you to ensure that it's not only just a good conversation you're going in and it's a friendly one, you're building rapport even before the interview, but you're also making sure that you're crossing all your T's and dotting your I's with the podcast host. And by asking intelligent questions, one of them possibly being, hey, I would love to have a virtual coffee with you after this is over, just to kind of talk about what you do and how we can actually partner further, right? They're already excited about having you on the podcast. Why not, if you're seeing that the conversation is flowing, leverage that for more of those opportunities? If they have a community, right? Start kind of thinking about how you can serve this person. And also ask them, hey, how can I best serve you? What do you need? What are you looking for right now? Right? And in asking those questions, it doesn't feel like you're simply there to suck all the things, right? It's a reciprocal situation. If you have a podcast, that's where you'd be like, hey, I would love to have you on our podcast. Let's do, again, an exchange there. And this is the last one, the follow-up. This goes back to this idea of the interview, right? A job interview, where a lot of people like, okay, great, interview was awesome, like shook hands and we're done. Okay, and then the person that's gonna go above and beyond is probably going to get the job, is going to follow up, is going to send a note that says, thank you so much for the opportunity. I really enjoyed our conversation about blank, reminding them of the things that you talked about and the opportunities that are still available, and maybe even getting a link to have them schedule something on your calendar. This is the way to make sure that every single interview, every single opportunity, you're squeezing all that juice out, right? It is a bit of a process. And this is just for one interview, okay? I wanna know, before we even go into the hot seat, how many people that are currently on right now have actually asked for a pre-interview chat if they weren't offered one? Come on, Carla, yes. Yes, it's important. And if you haven't been doing that, make sure that you get on that, and that's a part of your process, making sure that you're actually preparing. How many of you are actually doing role playing before you go on these interviews and practicing the stories and case studies that you're going to use and do all that? If that's you, say me in the chat. Yes, I love it. Okay, so we're gonna do another hot seat session. Um, I think Bella had her hand up before. If anyone else has a question, come on
I
up.
have a question. This is Bala.
Bella, thank you.
Okay. Uh, I am a mental health professional with a pharmacy background from India, and I want to talk about my journey. What are the challenges I faced to get licensed here? And I am also a non-profit leader as a volunteer for more than 10 years. And I want to talk about my non-profit leadership also.
Mhm.
I'm working on my TEDx talk. I want to do a TEDx talk. So in the TEDx talk application, they're asking about having an audio or video podcast clip, so which I don't have. So how to get it done? How to contact the people for that?
So you're asking how you would go about doing that for a podcast to get that footage,
Mm.
correct?
Yes.
Okay. So honestly, for that situation, all you need is a video of you speaking on the topic. If they specifically wanted an interview, I would literally just ask a friend, cheat sheet, ask a friend, go on Zoom and have the conversation, have them ask you specific questions that you guys talk about beforehand and just record that and send that in. Um, Instead of having to go and pitch and do all the things, if they're really wanting to get anything more than that, they'll let you know. But that's what I would do. It's probably not like, I mean, maybe I shouldn't have recorded that part, but that's what I would do to just get that done.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, phone a friend. Seriously. Any other questions about that particular part of things? Oh, goodness. All right. So far in the masterclass, we have covered a whole lot of information. If you feel like that was a lot of information, drop yeah in the chat. Yeah. So we talked a lot about how to actually find the podcast that you want to be on, like the research piece of it, and how to intentionally do that. And then we talked about how to intentionally be a better guest so that you can get a better result. A lot of you are doing some pieces of that. I think if you put all that together, you'll see a ton of results from that as well. However, you saw there's a third piece of the pie, and that is the distribution of it all, right? And that's the part I think a lot of people get stuck on. But before we go there, right, I want to ask a couple of questions, and I want you to be honest. Can somebody say honest in the chat? I want y'all to be honest. Okay. Knowing what you know now, do you actually feel confident that being featured on more podcasts would actually help you to reach your goals faster? 100%, yes. Okay. Now comes the harder part. If you had to describe your goals for 2025 using just one word. Now, remember what we talked about that's in your room, the thing that you wanted to get from this. Now I'm asking you the part B to that. What is the one word? Impact. Oh, yes. That's a good one. Purpose. Increase. Come on. Somebody has to get churchy in here. Come on with the increase. Come on, Dr. Judy, paid. We're trying to get paid. We're trying to get paid. Come on. Stop playing around. We're trying to get paid. I love it. I love it. I did tell y'all to be honest, so that that makes sense. Thank y'all for being honest. I want a couple more before we move on. Couple more. That part. Yes, yes, yes. All right. So I saw impact, purpose, getting paid as goals, one word goals for the rest of 2025, right? What if I had something that could actually help you? And remember, I talked to you about the fire being your expertise. What if I had something that could actually help you to not only build that fire up, but pour gasoline, kerosene, whatever you want to call it, because I'm Jamaican, kerosene is what we do. Pour that on the fire. What if I had something that would actually help you to do that, that is specific to this distribution piece? Would you be interested in hearing that? If yes, 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 Johnny. Okay. There's always a Jamaican in the crowd. There's always a Jamaican. We're everywhere. Yes, yes, yes. I love it. All right. So before I go, because I already know y'all. There is somebody or a group of somebodies, okay, that is already thinking about the price. I was like, oh God, here we go. How much does this cost? As someone who has spent well over $100,000 in college fees, right? I have an undergraduate degree, a master's degree, 3/4 of a second master's degree. Don't ask, don't judge me. And still paying off that debt, right? So yes, 3/4. Anyways, long story. Someone who had a car, and I know some of y'all got some fancy cars in your driveway right now, okay, that you're still paying on, and the house that you're still paying on, right? How many of you can tell me how much percentage of each of those things that I mentioned, college, car, house, can you actually write off on your taxes? Hopefully there's a CPA in the room. You can tell me how much of any of these you can write off. 0%. Except for insurance. Come on, CPA. There's always a finance person. Now, why is it that when we start talking about anything that has to do with business, it is seen as a risk? When in actuality, you've been risking it all, honey, since you were 18 years old, going to this college, getting this paper that you now maybe are using. I'm gonna tell you right now, I got my first degree in marketing communications. I'm still using it, but I could have learned that now on YouTube. Let's just be honest. First master's, African American studies. Again, love my master's because I'm Jamaican, born and raised. I kept being called African American. I had to figure out what that is and the history behind that. Value the education, but for the $60,000 that it was from Boston University, I don't know if that was worth it, right? I'm still paying that off, right? Went into all of that debt, and I can't write none of that off. But I paid over $30,000 in coaching in 2024. I wrote that entire thing off. Technically, I didn't have to pay for it by the end of the year, right? So I want you to reframe, as we're having this conversation, the rest of this conversation, I want you to reframe how you're seeing this as risky, right? I want you to reframe how you're seeing this as, ooh, I don't know. Because you don't even know the price yet. I ain't even tell you nothing yet. And you're already in your head. But since you're asking, here's the podcast Spotlight Accelerator. And it is a done for you solution, completely done for you. The entire process that we talked about, the pitching part, the prepping part, the follow-up part, everything we talked about is included in that. And then we also do the content piece, soup to nuts, completely done for you. What's the investment? $33K for 6 months. That's the investment. Okay. Let's talk about what that actually means. And I really want to be clear here. I'm not talking to everybody on this call because there are people on here that have already tuned out. They're not interested. That is totally okay. I talked my butt off. If that's all you wanted today, honey, you got that. For the people who are ready to pour gasoline, kerosene, all the eens on their fire, if you're ready to actually supercharge what you are doing, that's who I'm talking to. For the people who are impatient with their growth, for the people who aren't trying to just get along to get along, that's who I'm talking to. So if that is not you, I am totally okay. Public service announcement, I'm not talking to everybody. I'm not trying to sell you. This is an opportunity. I told you from the beginning, transformation. And I'm not talking out of like, oh, I don't know. Our clients have transformed since working with us because it's not just our stuff. I didn't give them anything. Their expertise is already there. We just help you with the vehicle to push it faster, further. That's what I'm talking about. It is an accelerator. So as we continue, right, I want to make sure that you understand what I'm saying, right? We are guaranteeing specific things. 3 to 5 podcast bookings per month. Why not 1? Why not 2? Because 1 podcast per month is still playing small. 2 podcasts per month, at minimum, you need 3 to start putting some fire in here. Let's think about it. It's been a month since you know who has been in office. A month. Look at what has happened in a month. And yet you're still sitting here not realizing all that can happen in just 1 month. We talked about all the work that goes into getting just 1 podcast. And now you're looking at getting 5 per month. Someone do the math for me. What's 5 times 6? All right, 30 podcasts in 6 months. 30 podcasts in 6 months. You're telling me that's not transformation? So let me break it down even more. What does that actually mean? That means we're actually doing the research for you. 6 to 8 hours. Now I really want my mathletes to come in here. 6 to 8 hours per month times 6. Good Lord. 36 and 48. Maybe? Yeah? Okay, something like that. Yes, okay. That's how many hours of research in the 6 months that we're gonna be doing, following up. And when I tell you we follow up once, twice on every single pitch that we send, we submit the forms for you, and we're also building those relationships beforehand so that you're getting on podcasts without us even having to pitch. That's the power of having people behind you, right? You can go ahead and DIY, totally fine. But I'm trying to tell you, this is what happens when you have a team behind you that you don't have to manage. You don't have to tell us what to do, because who knows, you have a VA, you're still gonna have to manage that. You're still gonna have to go over and do, oh, well, no, you don't have to do that over here. Literally, we've had clients is like, I don't wanna even know, right? Typically we copy you on every email. She's like, don't even copy me. Just tell me when stuff is booked, I'm good, right? And other people wanna see everything. This is just round 1. This is round 2. This is in 1 month. This is all the stuff that we sent out, right? And also have it there for you to see. This is a dashboard that is now in ClickUp that you can see every month. This is some of the most recent podcasts that we've been able to book people on. You'll see some leadership in there. You see some entrepreneurship in there, tech, healthcare, marketing, all the things, right? So let's see how this goes. We talked about the customized pitch letter. We talked about the hook, all the things. Let me show you what that looks like in action, right? So you can already tell here, research. recent conversation with Mike Robbins. Mike Robbins is someone that was on the podcast. It was an episode. We had to watch that interview to understand what he was talking about and take pieces from that team culture that is tied to our client and what she wants to do. And that's how we write it down. You're seeing down here, we're already starting with, okay, great. Here's the talking points. Here's the PowerPoints. And this is the result of a extremely tailored ask. Wow. Not a, okay, cool. It's a wow, right? And here we go. That's from February 19th. That's recent. It's one of our current clients that we're doing that for. We also do a guest info packet. The guest info packet is pretty much like I told you, the whole long, whatever people don't read. This is a way for the people who won't read your email to see all that information in one place anyways. Here's some examples of packets that we've actually created for some of our clients. So we'll do your headshot. Well, we won't actually do it. We'll include your headshot. And there you'll see your bio, the topics that you talk about. And then for this particular client, we used a lot of her consulting clients. You see some fairly large names on there. She talks about leadership and operations. And so we wanted to make sure people knew, like, no, she knows her stuff. And her background is extremely impressive. Same thing goes for this client. We used some press that she's gotten. We also showed that she's been hired in some large companies as well, some one of the big four consulting firms. That also shows you the caliber of our clients. There's always also networking between our clients as well. So if you're looking for a cohort of incredible women, this is it, right? And then the media training interview prep that you've been doing on your own by yourself, you don't have to do that by yourself, right? You'll have me, another person that's coming in and be like, hey, did you think about that? Have you actually done this? What about this story that you told me before? Like, hey, let's actually make sure that this lead magnet is what you're using this time because of blah, 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 blah. I listen to the interviews. I'm doing the research that I'm telling you to do already so that when we're doing the prep interview, it actually makes sense. And because we're going to do show and tell, so you know that I'm telling the truth, here's some feedback from our clients who've actually done interviews after we've prepped, right? This client comes back and says, Carrolee, interview went well. I told stories, kept it simple, and mentioned the quiz. Why are those specific things being mentioned in her text? Because that's what we talked about. I told her because, similar to you, Sarah, she is a nerd. She loves doing what she does. And so she gets in, going down the rabbit hole. And I told her, specific, simple, clear, get in, get out, be personable, more so focus on stories than anything else. And she crushed it. For this other client, you can see that she started, it was amazing, right? And then I asked her, like, okay, so did it help that we had the conversation? She's like, yes, the conversation helped a lot. I heard you before, heard you in my head before the interview as she was prepping for the 70 questions. Like, that is the power of getting prepped and prepped well. This last piece is tied to the third part of the framework that I talked to you guys about, right? This idea of creating that one piece of content, the podcast interview, and moving toward mass distribution. But this is what I mean by the fire turns into literal crazy growth, because we don't stop at just social media content. And for each one of the interviews that you do, up to 3 of them per month, we're doing 10 social media posts. That is 10 captions, and then we mix between reels and graphics or photos. Depends on how well you did on the interview and how many bytes of really good information you actually provided, right? And that's up to 65 pieces of content per month, depending on how many, again, things that you're able to get booked that month. That's a lot of content. For everyone that's here, have you ever, out of your mouth, and I'm one of them, have you ever said, I really hate creating content? Have you ever said that? Be honest. If that's you, say yes in the chat. Be honest. Said it yesterday. That is real. Like it is not easy. It's annoying, right? And you have to think about what you're gonna say. Strongly dislike. Yes. Yes. Because I could have easily said, okay, the business is gonna be, we're gonna pitch for people, we're gonna get them on good podcasts, and that's gonna be it. And frankly, that's a lot of my competition. That's where they stop. For us, I recognized, hey, this piece, this is where you take everything up a notch. If I can actually give all of these experts really good professionally designed content, it's a wrap. So what does the content look like?
I serve a lot of smaller businesses, small consulting firms, and coaching firms, and a lot of times the CEO is serving two hats, or they have a VA or an assistant that is doing the operations role. And so I want to be able to give them tools, resources, and mentorship to be able to do that, and I can do that better in a paid community versus a free community.
So y'all heard that, right? Yes, okay. And then you can see here, because we did it multiple times, different podcasts that she's been on, a lot of captions, a lot. And then we also did emails and blogs, right? What I love about this particular client is she uses the stuff that we give her. Somebody say use in the comments, because you become a client with us, I give you all the stuff, you better be using it, right? We're not gonna do the whole implement. Come on now, Rhonda, implementation. Too many people are over here getting all the stuff and not using it. How are you? This is the same thing as people having the 10,000, 20,000. I'm in a mastermind with people that are paying $30,000 plus dollars a year for a mastermind. Not a done for you, a mastermind. And they're not using it. Not over here. Not over here. Okay. So I told you the price before I even went into the stuff. And I'm sure some of y'all were still thinking about that price when I was walking everything through. And then also like, wait, that's a lot of money. It is. Why did I put it at that price? This is why. I told you guys that I've been in marketing. If I didn't, you read it, for a while. I owned a marketing agency. I've been doing copywriting for a very long time. I do this, right? And so you can see here, to hire professionals. Somebody say professionals in the chat. I'm not talking about you hiring somebody, to do Canva designs from where, okay? Professionals, people who have been doing the thing for a while. When you hire them, this is what you're gonna be priced out at. I got 5 on, come on with the dude. Okay, see, I'm cutting up. So, but I'm really about helping y'all work smarter and not harder. One of the things I talked to you guys about being Jamaican, right? There's a pride in us working multiple jobs. Whoever has heard that joke before, that Jamaicans have more than one job. If you've heard that joke before, drop a me in the chat if you've heard that joke before. In Livico. Listen, but it's true. We always have hustles. Like you're not gonna, it's true, right? And just because it's true, like I watched my father on a very serious note. He is deceased now, and I watched him for well over 20 years work 2 full-time jobs, 2 40 hours. And then he would have side hustles. How you have a side hustle after 2 full-time jobs, I don't know, right? And I always admired his work ethic. And there's a part of me that has that work ethic now, but I committed to myself. I identify as a Jamaican, I love it. I committed to myself like, yo, I'm not gonna work this hard. I'm gonna work smarter. I'm gonna use the same work ethic, but I'm gonna work smarter, right? And so there's a part of me, you become a client of ours, that's our philosophy, right? How can we do this more efficiently? How can we get to the bag? How can we get more money, but more efficiently? That's what we're gonna be working on. Somebody say efficiently. Drop efficiently in the chat. If you're on the efficient bandwagon, drop efficiently in the chat. All right. So I'm not gonna leave y'all with that price tag that I mentioned before. Who remembers the price tag? Let me see if your mind was on the price tag. Who remembers? Yeah, Sarah was like, yeah, I remember. The money lady. So what will it cost you today? Because you're in this room, you stuck out, right? We started at a number, now we had another number of the people who are still in this room. Y'all self-selected, because I definitely did say to people, hey, you can leave. You're still here. And because you're here, we ain't doing 33,000. We're actually gonna do 21. 21 for 6 months. All of the things I talked to you guys about, specifically the content alone, the pitching alone. My team goes ham. Actually, the person that pitches the most is on the call right now, so he knows I'm not lying. The amount of emails that are sent, the work that goes into it, I'm really proud of what we do, but it's a lot of work, right? And so that's the price. So to recap, so y'all remember, 3 to 5 guaranteed podcast bookings. Then you're doing the custom pitch letter. Then you're getting the guest info packet, the pretty guest info packet. You're also getting prepared every single time for your podcast, so you're not alone. And then you're getting all that content, up to 65 pieces of content every month. Again, for $21K for 6 months. How much? All right. So I have something else that I want to offer, because I'm nice, to add in there. I'm going to ask a question before I put this in here, before I even say anything. We talked about TEDx earlier. Who on this call right now has done a TEDx talk? If you've done a TEDx talk, stand up, represent, say me in the chat. Come on, Judy. Justine. Represent, is that it? Okay, we gotta get y'all on a TEDx stage, okay? So, come on, not yet, yes. Okay, here's the thing. So many people go on one of the biggest stages, do a bang up job. I'm not talking an okay job, a great job. And then never promote it more than once. They promote it when it comes out, much like that podcast from 5 years ago, Dr. Judy, and that's it. They don't do anything. Here's an opportunity. You come in with us. Before we ever start pitching you or doing anything else, we're gonna actually help you repurpose one of your podcasts or TEDx talks into actual content. It's an addition to that. Sound good? If it sounds good, say sounds good in the chat. Y'all ain't gonna get quiet on me now. Like, this is a conversation. Okay. This is good. Thank you. Listen, first of all, I didn't tell y'all this in my many, many lives. I'm also a preacher that got licensed to preach in the AME Church. If you don't know what the AME Church is, it's the African Methodist Episcopal Church, which means that I'm a Black preacher and I'm from a Black church, which means I like you to talk back to me, which means y'all disrespecting me right now by not responding. Come on, there is 21 of y'all in this room. I need somebody to talk back to me. Thank you. Okay. Don't let me cut up in here. Do not. Okay. So to recap all together, you're getting the bookings, you're getting the pitch letter, you're getting the info packet, you're getting the podcast interview prep, you're getting the content creation plus the content bonus content for anything else that you've already created, all of that for $21K for 6 months. That is your bonus if you act now. And when I say act now, I mean by the time that this Zoom closes, that deal goes away. Period. But I'm not done yet, because again, I'm nice. Can I give you more? If I can give you more, and again, I just told you I like people talking back to me. Can I give you more? More? I love y'all. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. So here's another bonus, because we talked a lot about preparing for the call, for the talk, for the interview, whatever you want to call it, the opportunity. But it's actually a lot more important about prepping to make sure that what happens after is lucrative, right? So the intention that you take with like getting to know the podcast host, understanding what their motivations are, all the things, you also want to make sure that you're coming with something good, right? And that's what a lead magnet is. A lot of these are played out, but you know what's even more played out than a lead magnet? You saying that your call to action is people booking a call with you. These people don't know you. They don't know you yet, right? You want to give them lower barrier to entry. Hey, I give you something, you give me something. And then I show you why you should actually now sit down with me, right? That's what a lead magnet is. Introductory email sequence. This is super, super, super dope. And we're going to go a lot more into why this is important. You want to make sure that you're introducing your people the way that you want to introduce them. Very similar to the reason why I don't like social media that much as it relates to like a sales tool, is because you can't really tell where your content ends up. You could literally be stuck between a cat video and someone's like angry uncle yelling about politics. And you have no control over that, right? Whereas with an email, you know it's gonna hit their inbox, even if they don't read it. However, if you're doing a sequence, to say, hey, my name is Rashonda and I do this, and I'm gonna do, and over and over and over until by the end of it, hey, book a call with me, right? You control that. And then the unsung hero. I'm gonna say something very similar to the like adage of like, God is good. You know the responses all the time. If you don't, now you do. If you fail to plan, then you're what? Put in the chat. If you fail to plan, there it is, Rhonda. You're not paid. Sarah. Exactly. And a lot of people are playing out here with their strategy with content. You're putting all of this stuff out, right? I love it when people are like, oh, it's too much. It's too much for your stuff. I don't know. And I'm like, okay, how much are you paying for social media? Well, I'm paying this person that she's, doing all this stuff for me. And I'm like, okay, so like, what's been the result? Like, what's working, what's not? Well, we're sending things out on a day. You don't know what's working. How do you make something better when you don't know what's working? You have to create a plan and actually execute the plan, and then evaluate and make sure that the plan is listening. That's why we also give you for free a way to track your ROI on these podcasts. I'm not playing with y'all. I know who I'm dealing with. You guys are experts. You don't play around. I don't play around. If you're gonna pay us, soup to nuts, we got you. None of the stuff you have to do. I want to be super clear. When I say done for you, I mean you don't have to lift a finger. Done for you. Okay? But I'm going to give you even more. Even more. Y'all ready for the even more? Come on. Yeah, thank you. Yes, 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 yes. Okay. I'm going to knock off an extra 6K today. So for the mathletes in the room, what is that new number? Come on, Sarah, I know you got it. All right, Rhonda beat you to it. That's correct. So you're getting all of this all of what we talked about, plus all of them bonuses, child. All of them bonuses for 15K. For 6 months, you're paying 15K. Now, I already know there is a few of you right now that's like, man, that's still a lot. I don't know. If you have children, and even if you don't, think about it. Maybe you're the rich auntie, and people come to you to ask, hey, there's an opportunity for your child or your favorite niece to go to the same private school that Michelle and Barack Obama's children graduated from. And for the next 6 months, this is the tuition. How many of y'all would figure out, find a way right now to make sure that happens? Put in the chat. And if you're not, I know you're lying, because we all have kids. You would find a way. What happens as women, when it comes time for us to invest in ourselves, in things that will improve our lives, it's a lot harder. It's a lot harder for us to pull the trigger because we have been socialized to be like, I can't because, what if, but for other people, we're like, well, I'll figure it out. I'm not here to take your money so you can't pay your rent or your mortgage, but I am here to push you. Because if you said you wanted growth, if you said you wanted impact, if you said you wanted money, Dr. Judy, cash, right? I was really about to start singing a song, but we're gonna leave it alone. About that business, then there is something for you to think about in this moment, right? You can tell this is the first time that there is a QR code to get going. And eventually, Michael is gonna put the link in the chat. I love playing with my team. He knows better. So anyways, okay, thank you for defending him. Let's drop it again for the people who need it. Thank you. So I'm gonna go a little bit more into the bonuses because I think it's important for you to see what I'm talking about. If you can't tell, we serve experts. There's a reason I'm an expert, and I know that when I'm about to buy something, I wanna make sure that I know that it's actually what I'm buying. And that is important, right? For the lead magnets, what we've done and we've helped people to create, and you'll see one of the lead magnets, our lead magnet is actually done here. There's a quiz, toolkit. My favorite is the mini course delivered by email. Has anybody actually signed up for a mini course that's delivered by email? If you have seen one, yes, Yolanda, yes, it's my favorite. Why? As a marketing tool, you're in people's inbox for like a month and a half, depending on how long the course is. And it's information and it's value. And it's kind of like reintroducing yourself value each time. And then by the end of it, they now trust you because you've given all this value. And your call to action is, hey, book a call. This is just a little bit. This is just a sample. I got you, right? That's what's awesome. So if you haven't thought about it, Yolanda clearly has one. They're amazing. It's a great lead magnet. And then the introductory emails. I wanted to really dive into this so you can see what we actually do, right? This is an entire sequence that is done and built out for you. And this is important. Like I told you, you're really in real time controlling the information that people get and when they get it. And after this sequence, even if they don't buy or bite, I should say, to sign up to meet with you, they drop into, you can put them into another sequence, right? Until they either unsubscribe or they, get on your calendar, right? This is a lot of how people are building their business now. You're not seeing it out loud. All you're seeing is the social media, the cute, whatever. This is the hard to do, time consuming, crazy legwork that's behind it. And we are telling you, we're signing up to do this. Right? And so we talked about the content and all the things. So I'm doing this for a reason. Look at all of this stuff for 15K, right? This goes away at the end of the Zoom. I heard someone say though,
podcasts have done.
Whoops, that they're thinking about it, whatever the case is. So I want to stop talking for a little bit and have you guys hear from someone who has gone through the process with us, was one of the earliest clients that we had. And I want you to take a look at her nameplate and how many letters are behind her name, right? And I always joke around it, but it's true. The more letters you have behind your name, the more careful you are about where your money goes, right? And so therefore, I want you to hear from her, and then we'll come back.
What podcasts have done for me really is like open my mind, teach me things, but it's also exposed me to experts that I would not have otherwise known about. And I have definitely engaged with people based on like hearing them talk on a podcast, or I bought their book because I heard them talk on a podcast, or I went and followed them on LinkedIn or whatever social media platform they are. Especially because with podcasts, it's a more long form way of people getting to know you, right? Because it's really storytelling. And when you have a great connection as well with the podcast host, the conversation just flows so well, and it just brings people into your world so that they have a really good understanding of what you're talking about. And especially with my product, because it's not easy to explain in like a pitchy way.
Yeah.
Because we struggled with this, right? Like, how do I talk about what I do? And having the like this interactive conversation with a podcast host really makes it, like, I had a podcast host tell me like, oh, I'm going to refer people to you. I know someone who can use your services. Like, it actually became a source of referral for me. So that's the power of podcasts. Do not underestimate it. If you've ever experienced transformation or gotten connected to resources through a podcast, you can leverage this platform to grow your business, grow your credibility, and reach the people in the audience that you're aiming to.
Well, I just want to thank you for taking the time out to sit with me and have this conversation. It's one thing when I'm on my soapbox and telling folks about the power of other people's podcasts and what you can actually get from it as an expert. Having someone who is an expert, having someone who we have actually worked through the process to get, to a different place. You didn't start off by like, I don't know what to do. You've been doing podcasts, right? It's not the me like making you into something. It is literally, we just kind of helped you shine the light in the areas that it needed to, and then gave you a vehicle to do that. So thank you so much. I'm super excited for all your podcasts to be launched. If you are not following Sheila, you see her name and all them letters behind her name. Follow her on LinkedIn. She's amazing. And the tool that she's creating is incredible. Again, thank you so much. And definitely be seeing you on somebody's podcast.
Thank you, Carrolee. This was a joy. Appreciate it.
But I saw somebody talk about or ask about a payment plan. I know not everybody in this room is going to be able to pay 15K upfront, period. I know that. So that's the reason why you still get all the stuff, minus the bonus content. We had to take something off. Come on now. With a payment plan. And so down today is that a fifth? Come on now, math. That is a fifth. Back me up. That's a fifth, right? That's a fifth. Okay. Of what we talked about. And so if you have been sitting here and it's like, I just can't do, I can't, that's not, right? But you know that you need this. There is an option for a payment plan. Somebody say payment plan in the comments so I know that you guys can hear me. Payment plan. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right. So, yes, yes. And by the way, these prices are going to change. I mean, and just keep going up every single day. The offer for the paid in full, when I close the Zoom, that's gone. For the payment plan, that stays, right? You lock that in now for today, that stays. But every day up until Monday, it goes up $100. It's fine, right? But if you need more time, there's also an opportunity, and I'm very limited opportunity tomorrow and Friday to get on my calendar for us to have a conversation one-on-one. You get to ask the questions, you get to really, and it's 30 minutes, right? This is not a coaching session. This is for you to ask any questions that you need in order to say, okay, I'm ready to do this, right? I want you to know that this is a ministry for me. This is a mission for me. I see the people that we work with as a part of my impact in the world, right? And Shanae, drop your question in the chat. And I want to make sure that everyone understands what is at stake here. In a month, we've seen so many things that we thought were stable become destabilized. I don't want to get emotional on here. No one's coming to save you. No one is coming to save you. You have to save yourself. Social media, what it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, is not what it is now. There's a possibility that that becomes state TV or media. And good Lord, when that happens. Notice I said when. You need an escape route. And I'm offering that to you. And I'm going to tell you, 10 toes down, we're going to work our butts off to make sure that you reach your goals. So whether you're able to do the pay in full, whether you're able to do the payment plan, or you're signing up to take one of the 6 slots, and I mean it, when they're done, when they're gone, they're gone. This is the opportunity. This is not time to play. This is not time to, oh, I'll do it later. You don't know what's about to happen next month. I don't know what's about to happen next month. This is the time. It's right now. Stop playing around. Yolanda, come on now. Come on now. This is the time. So that is what I have for me right now. And I'm going to skip over the questions and go straight into VIP. If you have any specific questions for VIP, please raise your hand and we'll go right into them right now. And we'll talk for a little while I collect myself. And no, I really do care about y'all. I really do. Like, for real. All right, Shanae, I think I'm saying that right.
You are saying that correct. Thank you. I was actually typing it and then you opened it up for questions. I'm like, yes. My question is really brief. You talked about creating content. I've currently appeared on 2. I don't want to say only because it's coming. And so I've currently appeared on 2 this week, actually recorded and everything.
Nice.
And so I'm asking a question around content because One of them is only audio, so I'm not so much worried about that. But the other one is a video. And I'm curious, how do I get the link in order to, how do you ask for the link like from them directly and just say, hey, can I get the link? Okay, because I was trying to like figure out from YouTube and it was getting messy and I was like, no, this is crazy. And so I was like, is that a part of like the follow-up? Because I have a follow-up email that I send and just asking them like when it'll be the date it'll be dropped and things like that. And so I didn't know, should I incorporate that asking for the link in there as well?
1,000%. And we do that when I tell you this is soup to nuts. We do that for you. A lot of times
Yeah.
we'll have that conversation beforehand. Hey, when this is ready, please let us know. Because we, even before it's live, if they have the actual live, so what's it, the raw, there it is, raw version of the interview, we'll take that and start chopping it up and doing the content before it's on YouTube, before it's public, right? And then sometimes, you know, we have to wait until it's live, which is fine. But asking, I mean, you can't go wrong there. So for sure, I would ask. Any other questions? You can raise your hand. Not Sarah, I don't know if that's a raised hand or if you're just scratching your head. I'm gonna give you a couple more seconds. If you don't have any other questions, we can call it a day. Did anybody schedule a call? I want to know, just to know what to expect. Ooh. Okay. Okay, I see confirmation here. Okay, Shanae's back. You can go ahead and unmute if you have a question.
There we go. Thanks. I couldn't unmute quickly, so I'm going to take advantage of asking another question if nobody else has one. So if I am, I think Bala mentioned has a couple different things that she's working on, like a nonprofit and a business. How do you kind of segment that when you're on a podcast, or should you just focus in on one thing and then go from there?
Yeah. So the person that you heard in the kind of testimonial video, her name's Sheila, she has a business that is a consulting firm, and she also is building a SaaS tool, right? And so she's doing both, building both at the same time. She's going after funding for the tool, and then she's also doing consulting and speaking and all the things as well. And so what we've done is strategizing, okay, for the first 3 months, we're gonna get podcasts in here. Okay, cool. And then we're gonna put but there are other people, right, who are doing something similar, have the two things, and we just go after all of them. So there's some podcasts that are specific to one area, and then there are other podcasts that are specific. So we talk about it. It goes back to the strategy piece, right? Kind of thinking about what that is. One of the things that people don't think about is also, just like traditional media, think about when someone is launching their podcast, right? If you know that they're going to be recording now to then launch it in a few weeks, that's March. That's Women's History Month. If there are ways that you can tie your pitch to Women's History Month or something that's tied to what you're doing, even if it's the nonprofit space or whatever the case is, like you can actually pitch that and it'll probably be better than the other thing that you're working on. So like thinking in different ways, not just like, okay, either or. There's just a bunch of different ways, different strategies that you can use to know, okay, I'm gonna focus on this first, or venture out almost octopus, where you're trying to see which one sticks, which one's getting more traction, and we go all in on whatever the one is that we're seeing people bite on more. It's a complicated answer, basically, like, it depends. So. Awesome. Okay. I told y'all about the questions. Sarah's clapping. Okay. Thank you guys. I saw somebody scheduled a call. Awesome. And so we will connect with you guys on that. And this was fantastic. Can't believe I almost cried in the club, but here we are. I appreciate y'all all so much and enjoy the rest of your day.